Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. This is the Bodega Cat Book Club Health Edition. And today we're doing an intro on a new book that we're starting in January 2026. So this book is called Vibrational Medicine, and this particular book is third edition. And the author is Dr. Richard Gerber, MD, medical doctor. So this book was inspired by a very famous phrase that a scientist said. The scientist's name is Nikola Tesla, and he said, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, you need to understand, I'm paraphrasing, of course, you need to understand vibration, energy, and frequency. So in my opinion, I think this is going to be the future of medicine. This is just my observation about current geopolitical events. We are seeing the dismantling of the medical system in real time right now. And it might take a while. I don't know. I don't know. Dismantling things is probably easier than building things, right? I don't know. What do you guys think? But I think it's important for us to understand fundamentals. And, we have a whole world of non-physical dimension that we have never really understood or attempt to understand. And I think it's a good time to start understanding and to start learning about it. That's just my opinion. So this book is very big. It's about, I don't know how many chapters. It's a lot of chapters. It's about, well, if you don't consider the notes and stuff, it's about 500 plus pages. So we are going to read it slowly, so we can digest it. And I am very excited actually to go on this journey with you because we are going to be entering new territories. And like Star Trek said, right, we're going to where people haven't gone before, or whatever that phrase is. All right. Anyways, I will leave a video link about the Nikola Tesla uh, quote in the description box below. Now, before we begin, okay, two things. So this is a introduction, but it's a part one to a two-part intro because the intro is so long, I decided to break it up. And part one, which is this video, we will be looking at the foreword, the introduction, and the preface. And then part two, we'll be looking at the preface to the third edition, which is in particular specifically for this book, the third edition. Okay, so before we begin, I just wanted to do a quick plug. If you are new, welcome. If you're returning, welcome. If you're new, check out our other book clubs as well. We have spiritual book clubs that we read spiritual books on Mondays. And then this book will be on Wednesdays, which is a health, will fall under the health category. And then Thursdays, we have the financial book club. So check us out. We have all the books that we've read in the past as well as the current ones we put them all on YouTube. So if you can't join us live, you can join us on, afterwards on YouTube. We have it on a playlist, so you can download it and listen to it while you're, jogging, walking the dog, doing errands, and whatever it is that you do. We also have podcasts that we interview. I think they're interesting people, but we have podcasts that we put out once in a while, and we put that up on YouTube as well, and also on our newsletter. So, on our website. So please check out our website. We have a monthly newsletter that we put out for free, and sign up for that so you know what's going on in the Bodega Cat world. And if you have a book that you want to recommend for us to read, since we love reading so much, I'll put a link in the description box below as in there for you to recommend as well. So it could be a spiritual book, it could be a health book, it could be a financial book, and we love to consider it and we love to read it if it fits our criteria. Um, and then lastly, if you find this valuable, if you like what we do and you find this of value, please consider supporting us in whatever way you can, whether non-financially, financially, leaving comments, whatever it is that is comfortable for you, wherever you guys are at. We're very, very appreciative of that. Um, Otherwise, you can buy me a coffee, leave a donation, or check out our merch. We have our shop section on our website, and we have new designs coming out every month, and for the holiday season as well. So for both your fur babies, your cats and dogs, and for humans. And then lastly, if you are in the Los Angeles area or visiting or traveling to LA, come visit us in person. We have a healing center that we use technologies based on Nikola Tesla's scalar wave research um, for holistic healing for both animals, cats and dogs, and humans. So we have all those information on the website, as well as other services, our other services as well on the website. So read about them, learn about them, and we're very excited that you're on this journey with us. You're here for a reason. You're here to learn. You're here to take back your power, not just giving it away to doctors and um, quote unquote experts and professionals, um, because they are limited. They are humans and they're limited as well. So you are your best doctor, like I always say. Okay, so this video will be part 1 of 2, and I will link the description, both parts of the intro in the description box below. And yeah, so let's get started. And this will be exciting. I'm looking forward to this book very much because I think it covers a lot of stuff. Subtle energies, non-physical energies, quantum energies. So those are very interesting. Okay, so we're going to start with the foreword. If you have a book, I will link I will put a link in the description box below if you're interested in buying the book. And if you do buy the book, you can follow with us there. If not, you can follow with us here on camera, whichever way works for you. There is no one way, there is no right way. You just have to do whatever fits your needs at the time. All right. So here we go. Forward by William A. Tiller, PhD. Until recently, science and traditional Western medicine have considered that living organisms operate largely by means of the following sequence of reactions. Here is equation 1. So you got function, structure, and chemistry. And it looks like they are all two-way street communication. For those of you who are just listening, you got function and structure with arrows going back and forth between the two, and then structure and chemistry with arrows going back between the two. When an organism was not functioning properly, the cause has been ascribed to structural defects in the system arising out of chemical imbalances. It was recognized that chemical level homeostasis may have been dependent upon a connection with a deeper level energy structure in the organism, but no clear discrimination of this connection was made. More recently, a growing awareness has developed of the interactions between chemical states and electromagnetic fields. Studies in neuropsychology show us that small electric currents between specific brain points give rise to the same behavioral changes that are observed with certain specific brain stimulating chemicals. Small direct current, DC, electric currents. Okay, oh boy, I'm not a scientist, so forgive me for all you science people out there. It's 10 to the negative 12 amp, uh, mm2, mm to the mm squared, I guess you could say, right? To 10 to the negative 9 amp. Is that per mm squared? I don't know how to read that. For those of you science, chemistry, science people out there, maybe you can enlighten us. How do we read that? Okay. Applied to leukocytes in vitro have been shown to produce cell regeneration, while larger current densities were shown to produce cell degeneration. Such studies have been extended to enhance fracture healing in animals and humans. Thus, although we do not yet understand the detailed pathways whereby electric and magnetic fields couple into the cellular metabolism, it is clear that equation 1 should be replaced by equation 2. And here, this equation, we have the function and structure with arrows going back and forth between the two, and then structure and chemistry with arrows going back between the two, and then between chemistry and electromagnetic energy fields with arrows going back between the two. An illustration of equation 2 is Wolff's law of bone structure changes, which states that if one bone receives a non-uniform stress for an extended period of time, that bone will grow new trabeculate in the exact locations needed to maximally support this new stress distribution. The physical strain field is manifested in fibers and collagen, which are both piezoelectric, so that the electrostatic field is produced with specific orientation and polarity. This electrostatic field, with its associated microcurrents, causes ion and colloid redistribution in the local body fluids to specific locations where agglomeration and gelation set in. Boy, I can tell right now we're going to use a lot of big medical and scientific words. So all you scientific people out there and medical people out there, we're going to need a lot of help with this particular book club. So please enlighten us with your knowledge. Okay, continue. These new semi-solid structures age and calcify, eventually forming the microstructures making up trabeculate. One can readily imagine the more subtle stresses of an emotional or mental nature setting the foregoing chain of sequences in motion. Equation 2 has an obvious defect in that it overlooks mental effects. Under hypnosis, the human body has exhibited truly remarkable feats of strength and endurance, attesting to an unconscious mind structure link. Unconscious mind / structure link. In Aikido, Zen, and yoga disciplines, we see a conscious link between the mind and both structure and function. Recent studies in the area of biofeedback techniques show that directed mind can not only control various autonomic body functions such as skin temperature and pain, but can also repair the body. Finally, on another front, modern psychotherapy has shown that certain chemical treatments influence mental states and that certain mental treatments oh sorry, I was reading that twice. Let me read that again. Finally, on another front, modern psychotherapy has shown that certain chemical treatments influence mental states and that certain mental treatments influence chemical states. The point is that mental fields are additional contributions that should be placed on the right side of the reaction train, given in equation 2. Other fields, not yet clearly discriminated, also appear to play a part in this reaction chain. Let us label them all under the heading subtle energy fields and rewrite equation 2 as equation 3. So there's a top equation and a bottom equation. So on the top equation, there's a function and structure and arrows going back and forth between the two. And then structure and chemistry and arrows going back and forth between the two. Now, chemistry is a top equation, and there is a bottom equation where chemistry and electromagnetic energy fields have arrows going back up and down between the two. And I'm kind of describing this for people who are not looking at the reading with us visually, or who are just listening in essence. And then on the bottom equation, we have electromagnetic energy fields and subtle energy fields with arrows going back and forth between the two. Very interesting, eh? Equation 3 is a reasonable representation for a living organism, a cell, or a membrane. Each item in the reaction chain maintains its conditions of homeostasis via immediate support from the item on its right. The development of serious imbalance in any particular item in the chain leads in time to obvious disruption of homeostasis for the item to the left. Thus, to develop an early warning system concerning the chemical homeostasis of a biological system, a device must be created that monitors the electrical nature of the biological system. In order to gain information concerning future disruptions of the bioelectric system, the subtle energy fields of the entire biological entity must be monitored. At that moment, there is very little knowledge concerning the nature and character of those subtle energy fields. Therefore, electrical system monitoring must be used as a basis for early warning. This is a happy circumstance because our technical competence has grown significantly in this area over the past few decades. A number of electrical devices are presently available for rapid diagnosis of the body state of health and for the treatment of imbalances in that condition. Many holistic health practitioners are beginning to utilize these devices, and it has become important to understand how they function on an electrical level and what they actually measure in the human body. Using basic information on the electrical properties and response behavior of both macroscopic and microscopic, which are acupuncture points, areas of skin, it has been possible to account for all the key characteristics of the three major diagnostic instruments on the market. One of these instruments, the Voldermatron, is also utilized in the selection of homeopathic remedies for the patient. It thus forms a narrow bridge across the chasm between the domains of electromagnetic energy and subtle energy shown in equation 3. In order to strengthen that bridge and to eventually give it quantitative underpinnings, we need to gain a clearer understanding of the basic nature of homeopathy and how it relates to traditional Western medicine. One might say that it was the emphasis on disease rather than on health that split apart allopathic and homeopathic practice. The physical body reveals the obvious materialization of disease. The relationship to the more subtle aspects that relate to health is not so easily measured. Conventional allopathic medicine deals directly with the chemical and structural components of the physical body. It can be classed as a truly objective medicine because it deals with nature on a purely four-dimensional space/time level, and thus has developed much direct laboratory evidence to support its physiochemical hypothesis. This has occurred because the reliable sensing ability of both humans and instrumentation presently operates on that level. Homeopathic medicine, on the other hand, deals directly with the chemistry and structure of the physical body by dealing directly with substance and energies at the next and more subtle level. It must be classed as a subjective medicine at this time for the following reasons. One, it deals with energies that can be strongly perturbed by the mental and emotional activity of individuals. And two, there has not been any diagnostic equipment available to support the homeopathic physician's hypothesis. So I guess what they're saying is your mental and emotional status affects your physical status, which is, in essence, a true statement, in my opinion. Both theoretical structure and an experimental laboratory for studying subtle energies are essential ingredients for the generation of a correct scientific foundation for homeopathy. A postulation concerning the former allows a testing via the latter, so that a bootstrap process can be invoked to inch our way towards the desired goal. Because of this, equation 3 must be altered to the following form. Okay, so equation 4, for those of you who are just listening, we have a formula that looks like a square, not a square, but a rectangle. So on the top left upper corner, there is positive space-time structure. And to the right of that positive space-time structure is physical chemistry. And there's arrows going back and forth between the two. And then the physical chemistry to the right of the physical chemistry is the electromagnetic energy fields. And there are arrows going back between the two. Now, the electromagnetic energy fields is on the upper right corner of the equation. And underneath that is subtle energy fields. And there are arrows going up and down between the two. And then in the subtle energy fields, underneath that is the magneto-electric energy fields, which is the magneto-electric energy fields is on the lower right corner of the equation. And there are arrows going up and down between the subtle energy fields and the magneto-electric energy fields. Now, on the bottom equation, the magneto-electric energy fields, to the left of that is the etheric chemistry. And there are arrows going back and forth between the two. And then on the left of the etheric chemistry is the negative space-time structure. The negative space-time structure is on the far left corner, my left corner of the formula, and there are arrows going back and forth between the two. And then from the negative space-time structure, on top of that is function. And there are arrows going up and down between function and negative space-time structure. And then lastly, between structure and positive space-time structure, the positive space-time structure is the first, I don't know what you call it, element, factor, equation that we started with. And there are arrows going up and down between the positive space-time structure and function. Wow, that was quite a description. So if you guys can see it as a chart, it's easier to understand than what I was saying. Anyways, all right. So in essence, he's added more, I don't know what you call it, equation, more formulas, more formulas, more factors, more elements. I don't know what you call it. So, all right, I tried my best to explain it. Okay, let's continue. Allopathic medicine follows the upper path between the subtle energy fields and the functioning state of the human. while homeopathic medicine follows the lower path between these two domains. Okay, so I guess what the author was doing, he was distinguishing between the physical aspect and the subtle energy aspect, which is the non-physical aspect. And then what is tying them together is the function and the subtle energy fields. In essence, I think that's what he's doing. Okay. In essence, discriminating between the subtle energies of equation 3 leads to the series parallel circuit of equation 4, wherein two different levels of chemistry and energy operate in two different space-time frames. This book by Richard Gerber, MD, is an attempt to present a conceptual bridge between current allopathic medicine and future subtle energy medicine. It is a broad-ranging book that tries to set a qualitative and somewhat speculative perspective. One does not need to agree with all the details given in this book to appreciate its overall synthesis. It is this overall synthesis of information and this grand perspective that Dr. Gerber hopes readers will take away with them. I like the book, have enjoyed reading it, and think it is a timely contribution. I do not agree with all of it, but in the main, it is consistent with my personal view of the bottom line, which is we are all elements of spirit, indestructible and eternal, and multiplexed in the divine. We contain a unique mechanism of perception, which is mind. In my theoretical modeling, mind consists of three levels: the instinctive, the intellectual, and the spiritual. And mind is postulated to function in a six-dimensional space lattice. This mind creates a vehicle for experience, a universe, a world, a body, and each person as a spiritual being plus perception mechanism invests in that vehicle, which runs a continuously programmed course. The being is connected to the vehicle via the emotional circuitry. The stuff used for the construction of this vehicle or simulator is of dual or conjugate nature. One part, which is electrical in nature and travels at velocities less than that of the electrical light, is of positive energy and positive mass. It forms the physical part of the simulator. The other part, which is magnetic in nature and travels at velocities greater than that of electromagnetic light, is of negative mass and negative energy. It forms the etheric part of the simulator. The total sum of these two energies is zero, as is the sum of their entropies. Thus, the total simulator or vehicle is created out of what we call empty space, the space of mind, via a fluctuation type of process. This vehicle world simulator is just the world of appearances and form, the world of relative reality that we shape with our minds. Outside of that is the absolute. It is necessary to learn to penetrate the foibles of the relative in order to appreciate the absolute. However, all who read this book are presently in the simulator, and when we talk about holistic health and a new medicine, it must be the medicine of that material, the simulator material. We know a great deal about one aspect of the simulator material, which is the physical, but very little about its conjugate part, the etheric. Now is the time to begin serious investigation of the etheric and to develop an etheric material science to balance our present physical material science. This book is a significant contribution to the new awareness needed to support such a task. Professor William A. Tiller, PhD, Department of Material Sciences and Engineering at Stanford University, June 1987. Oh, wow, this is a long time ago. I wonder when this book was printed. It was printed in 2001. Oh, very interesting, eh? All right. Now we go to the introduction by Gabriel Cousens, MD. Sir Arthur Eddington once said, "Verily, it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a scientific man to pass through a door. And whether the door be barn door or church door, it might be wiser that he should consent to be an ordinary man and walk in rather than wait until all the difficulties involved in a really scientific ingress are resolved." I have no idea what that meant. Consent to be an ordinary man and walk in rather than wait until all the difficulties involved in a really scientific ingress. I have no idea what that meant. I interpret it as you want to learn and be educated about things before things become bad. I don't know. Anyways, I don't know. What do you think? Put your comments, put your thoughts in the comments below. See what you think, because I don't know what that means. All right. In Vibrational Medicine, Dr. Richard Gerber not only helps us walk through the door to an understanding and acceptance of vibrational medicine, but he examines the doorway as well. This book is an encyclopedic and comprehensive coverage of vibrational medicine. The author creates a clear model of human organism from the physical to the etheric. He then goes on to include the subtle energetic harmonics of the spiritual planes as well. In this book, we begin to understand the human organism as a series of interacting multidimensional energy fields. By developing this model in scientific terms and backing it up with some of the recent exciting clinical and laboratory research, this book allows the reader to more fully appreciate the mind-body-mind-spirit language that is developing in holistic health today. The reader should remember, however, that models are not necessarily real, but serve as conceptual tools to enhance a functional understanding. Even the idea of energy is a concept. If those within the mass consciousness of medicine were able to remember that the Newtonian mechanistic approach is also only a model based on 200-year-old concepts, the transition to the Einsteinian quantum model would be taking place with much less resistance. It is unfortunate that mainstream medicine still acts as if it believes the Newtonian concepts that have been proven to be an inaccurate model for the past 50 years are real. Dr. Gerber does a particularly excellent job of creating a working model of physical etheric interface. He nicely clarifies the relationship of acupuncture meridians as detected by Dr. Motoyama's AMI device and uses sophisticated Kirlian photography diagnosis to show how the etheric body forms a type of holographic magnetic grid which communicates with the electrically based matter and cells of the physical body. The meridian system is the key interfacing system between the etheric and the physical. Just a side note, remember etheric, the ether, sorry. Ether is one of the fifth elements, building blocks of this physical life form that we know it. So the other four is water, air, earth, fire, and ether is the fifth one. We just finished a book on water. So you could check that out on our YouTube channel. It's called Your Body's Many Cries for Water by Dr. Batman Gillet. I'm sorry, I butchered his name. I call him Dr. B. It's just easier for me. But anyways, ether is the fifth element, fifth building block that makes up the physical world in this world. Okay, continue. It is nicely pointed out that the interface is diagnostically important because disease states can be detected at the etheric level before they manifest on the physical plane. It therefore follows that if diseases can be detected at this etheric level, they can be prevented. Because Dr. Gerber explains in detail the scientific instrumentation which is being developed and used to diagnose at the physical etheric interface, it gives credibility to this physical etheric interface that most skeptics would find hard to ignore. Another side note, which is why meditation is so effective. There's been a lot of stories and research done on meditation and cancer, and also visualization. Things of that nature have been very effective because you are influencing your physical world on the mental level, on the higher, I should say higher level, not just the mental level. But it goes to show how powerful our mind is and how powerful we are, right, as human beings, because we can affect our physical world, but we're taught that we cannot. So, all right, continue. The Tiller-Einstein model outlined in the book, which describes the etheric energies as negative space-time, faster than light magnetoelectric energies, gives an additional deeper and fresh insight into the physical etheric interface and into matter-energy relationships in general. It also helps us to understand the difficulty in measuring these etheric magnetoelectric energies because they are not detected by the standard electromagnetic positive space-time instrumentation. It is nice to read about the current research in these areas in which these etheric magnetoelectric energies are currently being measured by biological systems such as enzyme function, crystallization effects on water, and the shifting of the water, hydrogen, oxygen bonding angles. The book thoroughly, clearly, and gently opens the reader's mind to the conclusion that we as human organisms are a series of interacting multidimensional subtle energy systems, and that if these energy systems become imbalanced, there may be resulting pathological symptoms which manifest on the physical, emotional, mental, spiritual planes. It describes how these imbalances can be healed by rebalancing the subtle energy templates with the right frequency of vibrational medicine. This is the essence of the foundation of vibrational medicine. Dr. Gerber further correctly points out that when the human organism is weakened or not in balance, it oscillates at a different or less harmonic frequency. This abnormal frequency reflects the general state of the cellular energetic balance. If the person is not able to rebalance or increase his or her energetic mode to a normal frequency, then either a general or a specifically tuned frequency input is needed. This is the role that vibrational medicine plays. This book gives an excellent overview of the different vibrational medicine approaches. What is particularly enjoyable is the way Dr. Gerber relates them to his general model. It is a very helpful synopsis of vibrational medicine that can be understood both by the lay public and by health professionals who are interested in learning about vibrational medicine. As we shift from the materialistic, mechanistic, Newtonian worldview to the Einsteinian quantum mechanical holism medicine, and the people who practice it will also change. And I add just another side note, Nikola Tesla's quantum physics as well, or scalar wave as well. They might not touch it in this book, but it's certainly another area that's worth studying or trying to understand. Okay, continue. We will newly embrace the holistic view that has been with us for thousands of years. It is an understanding that not only does the healer see health from a holistic perspective as part of an overall relationship with the universe, but the healer lives as an example of such a whole and harmonious way. Excuse me. I saw this being actively practiced by some Ayurvedic physicians in India and heard about it in Taoist healers, American Indian medicine men and women, and Hunza healers. Ah, very interesting. Just a side note, we read about the Hunza community in one of our books that we read in our book club. It's called, I don't remember now what it's called. It's one of our earlier books. I'll put the link in the description box below. But the author studied the Hunza community, and he found that uh, a lot of the people in that community live to be like 120, 130, or something like that. Very interesting story. I don't remember the book now. Sorry about that. Continue. In our Western culture, it has been practiced for over 2,000 years by the Essenes, who produced such healers as John the Baptist, John the Divine, and of course, Jesus, also known as Yeshua, also known as Rabbi Yeshua Bar Miriam, which was his name when he was in the physical body, Rabbi Yeshua Bar Miriam. This tradition re-emerged around the 1400s from Constantine the African, who studied Essene texts in the Monte Cassino monastery and then taught them at the Salerno School of Medicine in Italy. Today, as there have always been, there exist evolved healers who continue to carry on these harmonistic, holistic healing traditions that Dr. Gerber romanticizes and hopes for. Their commitment to love and health can never be stopped by whatever medical system has political power. This book paves the way for greater support for these healers. It is important to understand that the type of healing which these healers share comes from their own harmony and love. It is a holism that is not based on the latest far-out diagnostic tool or on one or two progressive healing approaches, but from the perspective of being involved in every aspect of the healing. It is a simple and whole person multi-leveled energetic approach rather than a series of fragmented alternative therapies to which the client is referred. This book is part of a new and growing medical consensus that says, as Dr. Gerber writes, quote, a system of medicine which denies or ignores its existence, spirit, will be incomplete because it leaves out the most fundamental quality of human existence, the spiritual dimension. He points out, which is clarified in detail in my book, Spiritual Nutrition and the Rainbow Diet, that, quote, the tissues which compose our physical form are fed not only by oxygen, glucose, and chemical nutrients, but also by higher vibrational energies which endow the physical form with the properties of life and creative expression, end quote. Health is a total balance of our subtle energetic systems with the forces of our physical vehicle and also with the forces of Mother Nature. Many healers feel that in a state of harmony in which we are absorbing many levels of energy, even the use of mega vitamins, as suggested in this book, may act as stimulants, which may actually bring system into a state of imbalance. Although vibrational medicine is a boon to the future of health for this country and the world, health ultimately does not depend on vibrational medicine or the physician slash healer slash priests, but on people learning to live in a whole, harmonic, and loving way in every aspect of their lives. Just a side note, which is why I emphasize so much on knowledge and reading and learning and taking back your power and empowering yourself through knowledge. So kudos to you guys for starting this journey and for wanting to learn about yourself and your health. Continue. As we learn to live whole lives in which there is a balance of love and harmony with all levels of self, creative work, family, society, and the ecology of the planet, There will be a constant rebalancing, healing, and regeneration of ourselves. We will have learned, as Dr. Gerber humorously puts it, about the quote owner's consciousness maintenance manual. Oh, I like that. One of the most important aspects of this book is that it gives a new scientific paradigm, which strongly supports what healers and educated people have known about health for thousands of years. It delivers the understanding in a scientific manner that allows us to make a graceful transition from the atomistic, fragmented Newtonian understanding of health to the unbroken wholeness of the Einsteinian quantum mechanical worldview. And again, just a side note, I'm going to add Nikola Tesla in there. For anyone who is interested in vibrational medicine and needs to examine the door before walking through, this book is an absolute must. May we all know health, love, and harmony on every level of our being. Gabriel Cousens, MD, October 1987. Dr. Cousens is a holistic physician, and I'm sure I butchered his name. I'm sorry about that. Anyways, he is a holistic physician and author of Spiritual Nutrition and the Rainbow Diet. That's a very interesting word, rainbow diet. All right. Okay, preface. This book is an exploration into the various mechanisms of healing. It is an introduction to a new system of thinking about health and illness in general. This system of thought examines human functioning from the perspective of multiple interactive energy systems. It is an attempt to go beyond the current medical paradigm of illness in order to understand at a deeper level why our thoughts and emotions affect our physiology, and also to comprehend how therapies as simple as herbs, flowers, and water can be such powerful healers. My approach to understanding this growing field known as vibrational medicine stems from 11 years of personal research in alternative methods of healing during my years of medical training and practice as an internist. I have attempted to build upon the foundations of accepted medical knowledge in order to bridge the gap between science and metaphysics. From my earliest years in medical school, I sensed that there were simpler, less invasive methods of healing illness than prescribing potent drugs with toxic side effects and performing surgery with its accompanying risks. Admittedly, drugs and surgery have brought help and healing to many thousands in need and have succeeded in wiping out numerous epidemic diseases. Unfortunately, there are still many chronic illnesses for which current medical therapy offers only palliative treatment. My own practice in internal medicine is still dependent upon these therapeutic modalities. I would very much like to be able to do without surgical and medical tools, but at this time they are still very important. For many years, I have sought to discover diagnostic methods and therapeutic tools that would be less invasive, less costly, less toxic, and of greater healing benefit to patients. That was one of the underlying reasons behind my search to understand the true nature of healing. It is my conclusion that vibrational healing systems hold the key to extending our current medical knowledge toward an improved understanding, diagnosis, and treatment of human ailments. Medical science has done much to investigate the mechanisms behind disease, but it has only recently begun to study the reasons that people stay healthy. Scientists have tended to focus upon the microscopic, micromolecular mechanisms behind disease causation, but have often lost sight of the bigger picture. Also, mainstream medicine suffers from an extreme narrow-mindedness in thinking because of its steadfast focus upon the Newtonian worldview of people as sophisticated biological machines. Vibrational healing philosophies have the unique perspective that human beings are more than flesh and blood, proteins, fats, and nucleic acids. The body would be but a pile of disordered chemicals were it not for the animating life force that maintains and organizes our molecular substituents into living, breathing, thinking individuals. This life force is part of the spirit that animates all living creatures. It is the so-called, quote, ghost in the machine. It is a unique form of subtle energy that has yet to be fully grasped by the scientists of the 20th century. The spiritual dimension is an aspect of human nature that is not taught in medical school nor well understood by most physicians. But the spiritual element is a part of human existence that must be taken into account if we are to truly understand the basic nature of health, illness, and personal growth. And just a side note, the life force that Dr. Gerber, the author, is talking about is known in many traditions. In the country India, or Hindu tradition, it's known as prana. In the Chinese tradition, it's known as qi, as in Tai Chi or Qigong, right? Um, and then the Jewish tradition is known as Ruha or Roha, I don't remember now. So, if you look at different societies and different cultures, they all have some form of, they all say the same thing, life force energy. They just say it different names. And of course, in modern movies, Star Wars calls it the Force. The Force is with you. And then other people call it God, right? So anyways, okay, continue. One of the primary reasons that physicians have such a hard time in accepting the validity of alternative healing methods is that they see the physical body as the only dimension of human existence. Given that one must somehow influence physical/cellular systems with gross molecular methods such as drugs or surgery, it is little wonder that the therapeutic effectiveness of weak dilutions of substances like those used in homeopathy, have been misunderstood and discredited by the orthodox medical structure. Homeopathy works at an energetic level which is not yet understood by most medical thinkers. It is only recently that scientists have acknowledged that the mind can influence the biomolecular mechanisms that regulate the body. For many years, doctors thought that consciousness was something the brain produced, similar to the gallbladder producing bile. Consciousness was considered merely a byproduct of the central nervous system machinations. Neurophysiologists have long sought the area of the brain that is the center of free will and decision making. Although they may identify regions of gray matter that participate in the process of executing commands, researchers will look long and hard before they ever discover the real seat of consciousness in the brain. The brain, albeit a complex biocomputer, still needs a programmer to instruct the nervous system how to perform and what acts to accomplish. And a side note, the programmer is you. You direct what the cells do. You direct what the body does. So, food for thought there. All right, continue. That conscious entity, which uses this biomechanism of the brain and body, is the human spirit or soul. That which we refer to as the spiritual domain is part of a series of higher dimensional energy systems which feed directly into the computer hardware we call the brain and body. It is these higher dimensional systems, our so-called subtle energetic anatomy, that science has yet to recognize. Alternative systems of healing are often effective because they can correct abnormal patterns of function in the higher dimensional systems, which control cellular physiology and behavioral patterns of expression. The acupuncture meridians, the chakras, and the nadis, the etheric body, and other higher systems are parts of human multidimensional anatomy that have been described by ancient schools of healing throughout the world. Western science has long ignored descriptions of ethereal components of physiology because their existence could never be documented by anatomical dissection. After all, who had ever seen a so-called meridian under the microscope? Only now has Western technology evolved to the point that we're beginning to get the earliest of confirmations that subtle energy systems do exist and that they influence the physiologic behavior of cellular systems. Throughout my years of research, I have tried to piece together scientific evidence to substantiate the existence of an extended subtle energy human anatomy. It is only through the acceptance of this multidimensional framework of functioning that scientists can begin to comprehend the true nature of human physiology and the reasons for illness and wellness. The evidence that I have assembled the evidence that I have assembled comes from a variety of disciplines and researchers. Many of the studies which I have put together are known to those within the parapsychological and holistic medical communities. However, I have added new insights to the existing studies. Many alternative medicine studies are unfamiliar to the mainstream medical practitioners, who vehemently claim that there is no good evidence to substantiate the effectiveness of practices like psychic healing. One of the reasons why most doctors have never read about alternative healing studies in their medical journals is because there is a catch-22 associated with vibrational healing research. The catch-22 is that an established medical journal would never publish anything of a controversial nature without references from another established journal. Since no one in this controversial field can get anything into the orthodox medical journals to begin with, there are obviously no established sources of credible references to quote. Therefore, the medical journals are safe in their ivory towers of scientific dogmatism. It is the purpose of this book to demonstrate that healing via systems that affect the elements of human subtle energy anatomy is just an extension of existing medical science. The Newtonian paradigm of physics was extended by the Einsteinian viewpoint. Likewise, this book will show how the principles of what I call Einsteinian medicine go beyond the limited Newtonian clockwork universe to comprehend human beings from the perspective of interpenetrating interactive energy fields. The studies which I have assembled as evidence for our extended subtle anatomy are a collection of clinical observations and experimental findings from a variety of interdisciplinary researchers. Some studies have been replicated by other researchers in other laboratories, while others have not. Viewed by themselves, these studies might be considered weak evidence for the phenomena and energy systems whose existence I am attempting to substantiate. But if viewed collectively like many small colored tiles assembled into larger mosaic, one can observe the greater picture. That greater picture is the extended viewpoint of humans as multidimensional beings of energy. Quantum physics and experiments in high energy particle physics have shown us that at the particle level, all matter is really energy. Einsteinian medicine is a viewpoint that tries to put the Newtonian picture of biomachinery into the perspective of dynamic interactive energy systems. If we are beings of energy, then it follows that we can be affected by energy. Even orthodox medicine has begun its revolutionary progression toward the development of energy methods of treatment. Therapeutic radiation to treat cancer, electricity to halt pain, and electromagnetic fields to stimulate healing of fractures are but the first developments of a newly evolving perspective within the medical community. The energies employed by those who use vibrational methods of healing also deliver also deliver measured quanta of energy to patients. However, the energy delivered by these therapies exists in frequencies far beyond those measured with conventional detection equipment. As unbelievable as it might seem, this higher dimensional energy is predicted by Einstein's famous equation, E equals mc squared. This book was also written to communicate to others the insights that I have derived from my research over the last 11 years. I feel that I have achieved a new synthesis of understanding in a field that badly needs some type of theoretical foundation upon which to build a new science of healing and understanding human illness. This book will perhaps stimulate further thinking about human health and illness in new ways. I consider it a kind of explorer's guidebook to a newly emerging region of scientific endeavor. It is my sincerest hope that there will be those within the general public, as well as within the diverse medical communities, who will read this book with an open mind. There are many radical ideas within this book, and not all will find a home in every reader's mind. As with any book, I hope the reader will examine my book with an open yet critical attitude, accepting that information or knowledge which rings true for him or herself. There is no one book which has all the answers. Certainly, this is but a transitional model waiting to be expanded upon, changed, and reshaped by newly acquired experimental evidence. The key issue here is experimental validation. What is truly needed is a multidisciplinary healing research center which can study the elements of the model that I have elaborated upon within this book. I have long envisioned a kind of Mayo Clinic of healing research, which could study the many dimensions of healing phenomena within an academic research setting. Such a center would be staffed by medical personnel from all fields of study, i.e., by doctors, nurses, and medical researchers, but also by acupuncturists, healers, herbalists, clairvoyant diagnosticians, engineers, chemists, physicists, and a host of others. There would be an interdisciplinary team which would design experiments to measure the subtle energies of human function and observe how they are affected by different modalities of healing. Within the center, there would be all manner of existing diagnostic technologies, from brainwave mapping and magnetic resonance imaging to more unconventional techniques such as electroacupuncture monitoring. A wide variety of resources would be brought to bear in trying to understand the basic nature of healing and the potential effectiveness of the healing modalities presented within this book and elsewhere within this developing field. The center would be a place where physicians and healers of all backgrounds and disciplines would come to not only offer their advice in designing experiments, but also to teach each other their various healing skills. It would be a place where the healers themselves would come to learn and to be healed. As various modalities of healing are shown to be effective in limited studies, clinical trials would begin in a larger outreach through various affiliated clinical treatment centers. All research would be collated and organized through a computer network, which would make inter-organizational networks much easier. For affiliated centers, an ongoing research file access to healing studies would be available through computer link-ups. Such a center would publish its own journal of research, which would hopefully come to be recognized as a quotable reference source and hence eliminate the catch-22 of healing research. Interestingly, many of the healing modalities discussed in this book are often less expensive and considerably less toxic or risky than conventional medical and surgical methods. There is great potential for reducing the runaway costs of medicine if doctors begin to incorporate alternative therapies on an everyday basis. I do not advocate doing away with all drugs and surgery. However, the effectiveness of existing medical technologies can be greatly augmented by adjunctive alternative therapies. When vibrational healing methods have progressed to the point that they can repeatedly and consistently offer therapeutic options that drugs and surgeries cannot provide, then we will begin to see that greater shift away from standard methods of practice. In the future, homeopathic remedies and flower essences may be recognized as useful for treating various chronic ailments, but I will still rely on a good vascular surgeon to treat a ruptured aortic aneurysm. The point is that we must begin to investigate alternative healing methods for what they can teach us about ourselves as evolving spiritual beings, as well as for their treatments of ailments for which orthodox medicine can do very little. My hope is that people will examine the contents of this book in a critical yet open manner and hopefully come away with a better understanding of themselves as multidimensional beings of unlimited healing and growth potential. Richard Gerber, MD, July 7, 1987. Wow, this is like uncharted territory, isn't it? This is theoretical for a long time, and now we are moving into uncharted territory where we're going to bridge between theoretical and practical, which is very exciting in my opinion. So hopefully, as we understand and read and understand this book, it helps us to understand many of the technologies, alternative holistic technologies out there, including the one that we use here in our center. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed that. We will continue with part 2, which is the preface to the 3rd edition, specifically for this book. And we will jump right into it in 2026. So thank you for joining us, and I'm very excited, and we will see you next time. In the meantime, I hope you guys all have a great day, great, what is it? Great afternoon, great evening, wherever you guys are. Okay, bye-bye now.